Bastion, a cute little bird-loving robot that is sadly the last of his kind. Who would have thought that Blizzard could turn him into such a terrifying hero in Overwatch? At one stage, he was probably the most hated character in the game due to his outstanding aim and fuck you up technique. His minigun did most of the talking, but boy, can people get butthurt when they die by his hand. Overwatch certainly has its fair share of cool, futuristic and modern technology intertwined with one another, and Bastion is a brilliant example of this. So today I want to ask a pretty interesting question. Is it real? Or more to the point, could we make a Bastion with today's technology? To begin with, we need to identify his separate functions, which is pretty easy. He has numerous forms. His recon configuration, which allows him to leisurely wander about at a steady pace, whilst firing upon his enemies with a reasonably damaging submachine gun. His sentry configuration, which has him completely still like a fixed powerhouse, with the only movement being in a rotating axis of his minigun. This can be outright deadly with proper positioning on the side of defense. And lastly, his ultimate, otherwise known as his tank configuration. For those who haven't seen it yet, well, he turns into a badass tank for a few seconds, demolishing almost anything in his sights. First off, let's take a little look at Bastion's sentry mode. The main feature here would obviously be his lovely big minigun. As most players know, the minigun can be dangerous when facing it alone in game, and in real life I'm sure you'll all know they certainly pack a punch as well. They're known to be one of the fastest firing weapons ever to make their way into the theatre of war. Generally speaking, miniguns can have a rate of fire of 2,000 to 7,000 rounds per minute. Due to the speed the weapon fires, it's pretty rare that video games depict them accurately. However, Overwatch is one of the few games out there that actually gets it right. Bastion's minigun fires an average of 35 rounds a second, which equates to around 2,100 rounds per minute, so it's around the same as older low-end miniguns. A minigun class that has served the United States well is the M134, which dates back to the early 60s, with eventual upgrades throughout the years to the present. It was introduced as a counter to some of the Viet Cong forces on the ground, regularly used on the side of helicopters as air support in the hotter regions of the enemy territory. Since then, it's been in use during most conflicts by the US Army, including Afghanistan and Iraq campaigns respectively. The M134 roughly fires about 4,000 rounds per minute, which is about double the speed of our robotic friend here, but I'm sure the extra firepower won't be a nuisance. Now comes the tough part, the weight. This bad boy comes in at 39 kilograms or 86 pounds, which is liftable by most people. But then you gotta think about the ammunition it uses. It uses 7.62mm by 51mm NATO rounds, which weigh about 10 grams a bullet. 4,000 of those sons of bitches is basically another minigun itself, and that'll only last you a minute. So we'll have to find something that can carry this sort of heavy load with ease. Bear with me on this. I'm going to move on to the recon configuration and tie up with the weight in just a second. I do want to clarify something. The recon configuration sucks. The submachine gun doesn't completely make sense, however my job isn't to moan about things in video games, it's to find real world tech that correlates with in-game things. And I think I found the ticket to tick all the boxes. Developed by a German manufacturer, KUKA, based in Augsburg, the KMP Omnimove robot is almost a perfect fit for the real-world Bastion. I know what you're thinking straight off the bat. Where the fuck are his legs? Well, you see, that's what I didn't like about him. We all know he has tank treads, which go at a similar speed, so why not swap out the transformation time for an all-in-one build? The Omnimove contains 360 degrees of autonomous movement, allowing for difficult maneuvers to seem pretty easy in any direction. It has laser sensors all around it to detect its environment and halt any collisions with other objects to minimize any damages. As you could probably guess, it's not for war use, but in fact for factories and transportation of heavy goods. Heavy goods like miniguns and ammunition. Hell yeah, you heard me right, miniguns, plural. This piece of kit can hold loads of up to about 90 US tons? 90 tons? 90 fucking tons? Yeah, that's about 81,646 kilograms, over 2 bloody thousand M134 miniguns. That's a lot of damn miniguns. Right, so the Omnimove can carry a lot of cool shit, But our real world Bastion won't be very good if it just has a pile of miniguns lying on its base, right? Let's change that. I present to you the KR Quantic, produced by none other than the same company. That's right, Kuka. It's a stiff, precise, and most importantly, an extremely powerful industrial robot shelf arm. This fella is built to lift up heavy objects and move them around, or heavy tools and even make them function. There has been a model of it designed to work in the car production lines. It does however have a pretty heavy weight itself, which is kinda why we needed the Omnimove. The arm weighs in at just under 1200 kilograms, which is about the same weight as some smaller cars. It can however lift up and move a load of up to 240 kilograms or 529 pounds, which makes a single minigun look easy. Remember when I mentioned multiple miniguns? Yup, I am suggesting that we have multiple miniguns attached to our arm. We could effectively have the weight of 3 guns and the ammunition for a minute of constant fire from each one undergone by that single arm. The attachment of all 3 to the arm would be a completely other story though. However, the attachments used for handling items could be altered slightly to meet our demands, but 1 is definitely on the table. Having 3 may be overkill, but it would look so much cooler, assuming you're on its side. Otherwise, it would just be damn terrifying. Speaking of terrifying, let's talk about Bastion's final form. His tank form. His ultimate. I previously mentioned that we're building an all-in-one build of Bastion, because I feel that it would be the best way to do things in the real world. The transformation would be darn difficult to do. You remember Transformers, the animated series, the Michael Bay movies, or the seemingly unlimited toy line? Yeah, them. Well, I'd kinda have to prove that they can exist, which they can't. Yet. But there have been some dedicated fans that have created the closest thing we're gonna see for a while. Private Turkish company, Letvision, have dedicated some time and money to develop an altered version of a BMW 3 Series into a transforming robot, controlled by a remote. It doesn't quite look like the ones from the films or TV series, but it's a step in the right direction. I do still believe that it's not the correct route for the real world Bastion, so let's get back on track. He can pretty much tear apart all of his foes with his cannon in his tank form. The actual damage it deals is 205 hit points, so almost any hero on the enemy team who gets hit by it directly is a goner. There has been some smaller tanks throughout history that could probably deal some serious damage to all of the heroes in Overwatch, including Reinhardt. However, what I'm looking for is something that we can attach to the rear of our lovely Omnimove, so that we don't have to go through the hassle of turning it into a transformer. I present to you the 9K1152 Metros M, otherwise known by its NATO name of the AT-13 Saxhorn II. It is an updated variant of a Cold War era anti-tank weapon, the AT-7 Saxhorn, originally created by the USSR in 1979, and later updated to the model that I am suggesting in 1992 by the Russian Federation. The weapon is usually fired by hand, however it can be remotely fired, which will aid us in creating a remote control version of Bastion. Its stand can be constrained to the ground, or in our case attached to a robot's base. The special thing about the Saxhorn is that it is a wired guided missile launcher, meaning that it can be remotely directed for precision strikes. Sure, Bastion's tank configuration doesn't have that ability, but I do believe that it would certainly be an upgrade. So, the cannon itself is sorted, but Bastion's tank form is, you know, a tank, so it's going to have some armour. We could just return to last week's episode for armour, but guess what? Our robot isn't a measly little human that has a major weight restriction. We can get the full Monty. Titanium. Titanium is a heavy ass metal, but it's also pretty much bulletproof. 2.5 inch thick titanium has been tested with numerous firearms, even with anti-tank rifles with armour penetrating rounds, and guess what? It didn't go right through. It did however leave a massive hole, but anybody on the other side would be perfectly safe. As I said, it's pretty darn heavy stuff. A rectangular shape to cover up our Omnimove sides at the dimensions of 5 inches thick, just to be extra safe, by 13 inches high and 30 inches along would come to about 317 pounds or 144 kilograms. Double that for the other side and we're up to 634 pounds or 288 kilograms. A pretty heavy load. But remember, 90 fucking tons. We've got a lot to play with. It's definitely going to be worth it when our Bastion meets a real world Widowmaker popping a sneaky shot. The attachment to the body will be slightly awkward considering its current design, but I'm sure the military engineers that will be totally putting this all together can figure out some safe way of attaching our outer titanium casing that can fully take advantage of our robot's high weight capacity. Lastly, we have our self-repairing function of Bastion, which isn't going to happen anytime soon. Sure, as with the animation in the game, robots can solder and weld things together, like in a car manufacturing line. But I'm pretty sure we won't be able to easily repair our Bastion out in the battlefield for a fair bit. So let's leave that one alone. All we need now is a self-aware AI, and we pretty much have a solid real-world version of Bastion. But let's face it, that would be bloody petrifying. If you got on the wrong side of him, you'd have a robot chasing you down with 3 very powerful miniguns raining fire upon you. And if you somehow avoided that, he'd just need to do a U-turn and fire a missile from his arse. Checkmate. You're fucked. Game over. So, that was my video on some real world tech surrounding Bastion within the game Overwatch. Apart from the latter parts, he's pretty plausible today. And with the minds of some people who are much smarter than me, could probably exist in a similar fashion to what he is in the actual game. I do however think it's probably for the best that Bastion isn't floating about the world, be it in war zones or high security patrols, because that fella is packing. A quick special thanks to Michael from Wonderside for being my dummy Bastion in a few of the clips used in this video. Give his channel a little look-see. I hope you guys have enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure to drop a like, drop a comment and subscribe if you've not done so already. And if you want to do more to help us out, you can check out our Patreon page where you can get some sweet benefits for just a couple of your spare bucks. Before you go, I'm going to be streaming some Overwatch right now, or about the time that this video releases. 12 PM CDT or 6 PM BST is when I'm aiming for the stream. Jump over to twitch.tv/ShoddyCast and come say hi. You can also follow me at Stally's Militia or at ShoddyCast for updates on videos and other streams. So, thank you very much for watching my video. My name is Andrew or Stally111 and I'll see you guys on the next episode of The Tech